Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Builder Partnerships Webinar Wednesday. Our webinar today is the 27th Annual Financial and Operations Study results. We're very excited to share everything that's gone on in 2019, and we're going to look forward to seeing how that compares in 2020. So get ready for some good information today. Before we get started, if you'll switch the slide, Chuck, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. As all of you are muted, so you're unable to actually ask verbal questions during the presentation. So we encourage you to use the Q&A speech bubbles or the chat bubble down at the bottom of your screen to ask questions. We will likely hold all questions until the very end. If there's something I can answer through text, I will do that. But we will reserve your questions till the end and I'll ask them out loud so Chuck and Emma can go ahead and answer those for you. If you are watching the replay, please feel free to email us your questions and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can with those answers. Go ahead and switch the slide, Chuck.
I'm trying.
Today, our presentation is sponsored by ECI. So we want to thank ECI. Okay, stop right there. They've been a great support to us over the years, and we're very excited that they're sponsoring with us today. Just a little bit about ECI Software Solutions. ECI Software Solution provides industry-specific cloud-based business software solutions and services across 9 different industries. In 2017, Mark Systems, along with LotView, became a member of the family of products, Lasso, CRM, and most recently Build Tools, a solution for custom builders and remodelers, round out our offerings currently available for the residential home construction market. For over 35 years, Mark Systems has been the home building industry's leading single platform, completely integrated, easy to use cloud-based solution that maximizes business efficiency for home builders and property developers. Leveraging industry knowledge and ECI's expertise in business software across industry, Mark System continues to evolve and provide leading support to its users. Also, dashboards and analytics built by ECI and powered by Cognitics. Mark Systems executive dashboards allow home building executives and managers to easily identify ways to improve their business's performance, assessing powerful analytics that highlight important key performance indicators for your business. The dashboards give you the ability to drill down into project details to see underperforming areas without running multiple reports or doing multiple calculations. Again, I want to thank ECI for continuing to support Builder Partnerships and our webinar Wednesdays. Without the support of our sponsors, we're not able to make these available to you guys. So thanks again. And with that, I believe we're all done with our pre-stuff and I can pass it over to Chuck and Emma. There are speakers for today, and Emma's actually the person who analyzes all of this information, and it has been doing this for many years and has great information to share for you today. And Chuck will be our primary presenter with Emma assisting him. Go ahead, guys.
Thank you, Emma Jane. I would just want to get started a little bit, and I want to thank Emma. This is their 27th year of doing this study, and it goes beyond that. We first did the cost of doing business study for the National Association of Home Builders in 1968, and have been doing financial analysis ever since then. It's just when we became full-time consultants and management educators, we started this series, and the first date that you have on there is the first time we did it was 1992 when we started full time. And just a little bit of background. Emma and I have been in this business now for 52 years. We're management consultants and educators. We were involved in creating the first computer system for the industry, the integrated system, back in 1978. Was when it came on the market. It was known as the Tom system, and it ran on a Wang. It was pretty antiquated at that time. But the purpose of what we do is to try to improve profitability. Builder Partner or Builder Magazine at one time dubbed us profit doctors for the industry, And what we spend our time doing is working on systems and procedures. And what we're looking at is trying to get your company being consistent, reliable, efficient, and effective. And Emma's most important word as she goes through the consulting is discipline, discipline, discipline. The builder has to have discipline to perform. She wrote the accounting system. When we first did the cost of doing business study, we got garbage. One guy sent us all his checkbooks. And he said he opened a checkbook for every one of the houses, and if he still had money in the checking account at the end, he made money. If he didn't, he lost money on his house. That's how sophisticated this industry was. In order for us to get standardization, Emma wrote the first cost of the accounting system for the industry. It was called the Accounting System for All Builders, and that was produced in 1972. She's been the author of that book ever since, and she's right now working on the current revision that should be published by NAHB sometime in around the convention time this year. A couple other things, Emma Jane didn't mention that we've canceled our seminars for the fall, mainly because of the virus. But we are doing these webinar Wednesdays, so every Wednesday, except for next week on the 1st, we're missing the 1st. But we have webinars, 1-hour webinars every week. And we also have begun our Home Builder University, which is going to have a series of educational programs leading to certification. And I've dubbed the certification Masters in Home Building Management as we go forward. So when we started looking at the charts, we went back to when we were originally doing charts. The original charts were on poster boards with chart pack lines trying to create these things. They used to take us at least a week in order to create the kind of charts that you're going to see today. Today is much easier for us to be able to do this. First thing we do is we go back to 1994 and we look at the profitability. And by the way, this is a summary of our builders. It's not. NAHB still does the cost of doing business study. That's different than what our study is. This is basically representative of our builders that we work with as we go through the program. But you can basically see, you see the trend line that we had prior to the home building recession in 2006. And we actually, our builders went negative for 2 years. We'll talk about how they went negative in 2 years. And then we picked back up again. And we're right now just shy of 10%. The average for 2019 was 9.6%. That was up about 0.9% from where we were in 2018. The next chart that we have is the net profit averages by quartile. And so you see the basic trends on all the quartiles. Everybody seems to have increased reasonably well. On the downturn in 2006, you see the yellow one got impacted pretty well, mainly because that's the third quartile. They had spec homes, they had subdivisions, communities, and land, and they got hit pretty hard because of where they were in their operation. So, but they've come back and they're basically on par with our larger volume builders in the fourth quartile. This represents the dollar volume of the builders that participated in the study. We have one that's missing here. We went up to about $700 million in volume this year. We had one up in that neck of the woods in volume. In 2018, we had three. They were in the 700 million. We had two of them that didn't participate this year. Don't know why, but they didn't participate in the study. But you see, we've got a good spread on volume as we go through the study. And the reason we did the 700 million, it was so far above all the rest of it, would make these little lines or the bars so small you couldn't really see the information. We had the same kind of situation with the sales volume and units. We go from 4 units to 2,000 units. The 2,000 units builder is not shown here because, again, it would diminish the chart in what we see. But you see a good array of size of builders with the number of units being sold in the operation. So this is a good representation of what the industry is really experiencing as we go through and take a look at the information. That's generally why we look at this, to make sure that we've got a good representation across the board of our builders. Average sales price, we go from about 195 to 700,000 here. We have 2 builders that were off the chart that we are not showing here. The low was 183 to 6.5 million. We had one that was sitting there at about 1.7, and then we had a 6.5 million unit builder average sales price. So those 2 would have also diminished the line so that we couldn't really present the charts very well. So we have kind of put them to the side on the chart. In the full study, you'll see it, but for this purpose, for this seminar, we took them all out of the operation. Now we start looking at the profitability, and that's really what we're after. Is we always are looking for how can we improve the profitability, how can we improve the efficiency and effectiveness of your organization, and get consistency through your operation. That's basically what we do. Well, you begin to look at this in 2006, which is the first year of this chart. The builders were basically all hitting our targets. If you see the gross profit, it was sitting there just basically at 30%, little less than 30%. The profits were just a hair short of 12%, which is kind of the target that we like to see. And the operating expenses were just about at 18%. Again, those are pretty consistent numbers that we look at, and those are pretty much our targets. So in 2006, we were hitting the targets extremely well. And as the market cratered, you see the gross profit decrease, mainly because we started discounting our houses. We weren't changing the product. What we were doing is discounting the houses, and it was causing us a deterioration in our gross profit. You also saw an increase in operating expenses to the point where we were sitting there at about 23% for operating expenses, excuse me, in the operation. And that relates to the fact that we held on to our staff way too long. You start seeing in 2009 a reduction in operating expenses as we started to get rid of some of the staff that we had. And we also saw the gross profit begin to increase because we were changing product. Excuse me. We were changing the product so to fit more the market at that point. If we come down into 2019 and you see the relationship, our gross profit has not increased the way we'd like it to see it increase. It's still sitting there at about 24-25%. We did see an increase in 2019 and starting to come back up. We have seen the operating expenses gradually reducing, and in fact, it's lower than where it typically is. It's sitting there at 16%. We'll talk about that as we go forward. And then the net profit, you see the net profit increasing as we look at the charts. For the cost of sales, the pink line is our land. And everybody's been very concerned about our land and the cost of land, but you see land, I'm gonna have to take it over. You see the land has stayed pretty much at 20%. What we do see is the cost of the product. It has gone up to almost 58% in the cost of the product. And so that has been the issue that we had to deal with as we've gone forward to the operation. Excuse me. So the concern is direct construction cost is above the 50. The relationship, the 70% is the cost of the product. And that's where we'd like to keep it. That'll give us a 30% gross profit. 20% for the land is typical, and then 50% would be for the product. So we see that we're bringing it down. We've brought it down basically for the last 2 years, but it still is an issue that we have to deal with. You got it.
Okay, so he's having a cough spell, so I'm going to pick it up and follow up with this as we start looking at what happened with the operating expenses. And the significant factor that I can see as I compare back to 2006 is the fact that we are becoming a lot more efficient with the use of our employees. I think that a factor that is coming into play here is the use of technology. The builders are adopting more technology, and that's making the staff more efficient. If you look at the indirect construction cost, in 2006, we had it at 4%, and now we are below that, probably around 3.5%. The same thing is happening with the G&A, which is the bulk of it is salaries, is also going down consistently. And when you compare with 2006 being above 5%. Now, the one element, or the other component of sales and marketing, you can see that we have struggled as an industry with that component. In 2006, it was pretty good. It was slightly under 6%, and then it just went up, and we had struggled with it, keeping it in line at the 6%, which is our target. Starting in 2016, it started to come down, and part of it, I believe, is because of the use of the electronic media in doing the advertising, which is proven pretty successful and less costly. So we have gained quite a bit in the profitability due to the technology advances that we've gotten, and the availability of using that media to reach our potential buyers. The most significant element here is the financing expenses. Financing is giving the industry 2 points because of the interest rates being so low. That is the element, the one factor that we need to continue to watch, because unfortunately that factor is not under our control. completely. We do control some of it, but the interest rate is totally out of our control. So we need to keep an eye on that because that can have a significant effect. It is, at this point, we're not anticipating increases in interest rate in 2021 or 2022, but you can never say never, so need to stay alert and keep an eye on interest rate because that can come out to haunt us and will have a significant effect on the profitability. At this point, what we need to watch is the cycle time because the length of the construction cycle will have an effect on the financing expenses. So even though it's low, we still have to keep an eye on it and make sure that the timing remains in the construction cycle remains under control. There are two basic elements that affect profitability: cost and time. The time is going to be reflected here in the financing, and the cost is going to be reflected in your direct construction cost and the cost of sales.
All right, we're switching back over. Hopefully my sinuses are gonna not drive me nuts. I get hay fever and all of a sudden I got the attack. So when we get into the net profit, this is the array of the profitability. And you see we went from minus about 8% to plus on net profit 27% with a good array of profitability. And what I look at is 20, if I take 10% and I say, okay, 10% is where everybody would like to be. I had 28.5% of the builders that participated in the study over the 10%. If I go to the 12%, I had pretty good, about 8 builders that were over the 12% in the study this year. So you can put yourself in the spread here and say, okay, am I superior or do I need to work quite heavily on trying to improve the profitability of my operation as we go forward? The first line of defense, which Emma always talks about for net profit, is your gross profit. And we continually do look at any kind of correlations that we can come up with in a home building business. And about the only correlations that we can come up with is you have to have good gross profit if you're going to have good net profit. Now, you can have good gross profit and screw it up because you have too much operating expenses and not get the net profit that you should be getting if you have good gross profit. But the correlation is very high. I will show you a chart on that as we go forward. So here's the gross profit that we look at, and about 12.5% of the builders exceeded the 30% for the gross profit, which is our target in order for us to get to 10 to 12% net profit. The low was that we had a couple of low ones under 15%. The bulk of the builders tended to be in that 20 to 25% range, which is pretty average for the industry. That we typically will see somewhere around 22 to 24% as the norm for builders, and that's tough because if it costs you 18% to run your business and you're making 22%, you're going to be a 4% net profit builder in the operation. When we start looking at the operating expenses, we would like to have the top on the operating expenses to be somewhere around 18%. Emma and I were sitting down talking about this earlier, and the target probably for operating expenses with the low interest rate and the change in marketing to more internet marketing probably should be around 15%. But if you look at this, about 21.5% of our builders are in excess of the 18%, which has historically been our target in the operation. So those people ought to be looking at their operating expenses and the composite of the operating expenses and where they spend their money. Operating expenses typically is people. And you need to look at how efficient is your operation, how many dollars of volume are you getting per employee out of your organization to see if you're truly using your organization efficiently in the operation. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is just the quartiles. And we look at this to take a look at is there any consistency on the net profitability in relationship to volume? And you see the net profitability is bouncing all over the board. The average here for the group was 9.59%, but that's an average. And if you look at the array, it's bouncing from over 12 to below 0. And at each one of the volume categories as we go through, it's just all over, it's a scatter diagram all over the place as we look at this in the builders. Now we break that down by quartile to see if there's any size difference. The average for the first quartile, which are small volume builders under 20 million, we see the average at 6.05%. However, we have one that lost 8%. We have a couple that were right at the 12%. And everybody else was pretty much at about the 5% range when we start looking at the spread of the profitability in the operation. So even a small volume builder can make the 12% or close to the 12% without any problem. So we take a look at it. It's just the mix that we have here as more lower profit builders than high profit builders in this mix. We go over to the second quartile. It's kind of the same thing. Their average was 6.3%, and this is 20 to 35 million. But you see two of the builders making 14+% net profitability, and we see a number of them in the 8 to 10 range, but we still also see losers. We have a couple of that are basically 1%, and we have one loser that's below 0. and the numbers. We go to the third quartile, and this is 36 to 80 million in the operation. We see again, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of these builders are in the 12% plus range. The rest of them are sitting there at about 4.5%, and I've got one loser in the upper end of this range, and then I've got one superior performer at about 27% net profitability in the operation. When I go to, and you see here the average is 10.29%, but it is impacted by my loser and my very strong builder in the operation. When I get over to the fourth quartile, which is the 81 to 700 million range, you see my 700 million builder made about 10%, but we don't see any losers in this category, and we see a number of them that are superior. We see two that are over 16%, one of them is almost at 18%. We have two at about 12, and we have one at about 15% in the way of net profitability coming through the organization. But we also see a 4% and a 5% and a couple of 6%ers coming into the operation. So what you see is it more relates to how you run your business than relates to size or volume or any of this stuff as we look at. Then we go and take a look at what about price, sales price. Is there any sweet spot where the builders are really making a killing because they're in this price point in the operation? Well, there's a scatter diagram. You see good profit builders and losers, all basically in the same price point for their product. It's all over the board again. You do see that the bulk of the builders are sitting there between $200,000 and $500,000 is basically where the builders are in their product, but you see the profitability of the operation bouncing all over the place as we go through and take a look at this. Then we go by state. Okay, is there any region or any state where we have very strong profitability going through the operation? And you don't see any trend lines there either. You see good profit builders and weak profit builders all in the same state, in the same regions of the country. So again, it's not necessarily the region that is having an impact on the profitability. And again, I got to go back to, it basically is how you're running your business. And you can make profit. And one of the comments I always say in the seminars is you can make a profit in any market segment, at any price point of product that you go through. This is the correlation that we look at, the correlation between gross and net profit. Look at the relationship. It's so strong, and it is every year. If I go back to 1994 and we do this chart's going to look exactly the same year after year after year after year after year. I have to have good gross profit for me to generate net profits, which means I have to control my direct construction cost, and I have to have my land and my direct construction costs come in at a combination of about 70%. I've got to produce at least a 30% gross margin for me to make superior profitability coming through the operation. Now we go over and take a look at the difference between the builders that are making the over 12% and the builders that are not performing well in the operation. So we break this down and we take a look at what the situation is between the two. If you look at this chart, the red bar, cost of sales, if you look across that, it's basically at 70% in the operation. There's a few that are above the 70%, but basically they're at 70% as their cost of sales. If you look at their operating expenses, they typically are less at 18% or less as we go through the operating expenses, which is generating a 12% plus net profit for each one of these builders going through the operation. Okay? So again, you take a look at this and you start looking at the relationships that we have in the organization. Now let's take a look at what happens with the weaker builders or the builders that are not producing a profit or a very small profit in their organization. Okay? Look at where their cost of sales is. Cost of sales is basically at 75 to 80% plus. And if you look at that, I've got 50% of the builders in this classification that are over 80% on cost of sales. It's too high. There's over 10 points of their profitability being lost somehow in cost of sales. And typically, if I look at the other chart where land is basically at 20%, it all relates to the cost of the product that you're building. That means that you're not efficient with the product and the operation of the product. I take the sales price as given because you can't move the sales price much. If you move the sales price, you're going to lose velocity. If you have to raise the sales price, you're going to lose your velocity. So I take that as the sales price is pretty much given. Then if we look at operating expenses in this category, 60% of these builders are over 20% for operating expenses. Again, they're losing on both sides and coming in with a negative profit or a minimal profit. Now, being over on operating expenses might mean that they need to grow. That in order for them to improve their profitability, they need to grow their business. But let's take builder number one with the loss. His cost of sales is over 80%.
It doesn't matter how much he grows.
It doesn't make any difference how much he grows. He's never going to make a profit, even if he gets this down to 18% from the 25 or 28%. He's only going to make maybe 1%, maybe 2%. He's got to go after his product and then grow. But growth isn't going to get him out of his problem in this operation where he's sitting at this point with the organization. I hate to be that ruthless. He might be in the same area. Emma just is pointing to one of the other builders, and we've got another builder there that has direct construction costs under 70, but his operating expenses are high. Okay? He's making a little bit of profit, but not much. That builder can grow. That builder needs to grow. He might be in a growth path and has hired the staff to get the staff trained so he can open up a couple new communities, but that builder is set to become a very profitable builder with growth. So there's two differences there. One builder, I don't care how much he grows, he's not going to make any money. And the other builder, I want him to grow the company. Because by growing the company with the product that he's got and the cost of sales that he's got, he's going to really do well in the operation. So he's got a great opportunity to truly improve his profitability very high. Okay? Now, somehow or another I got caught. There we go. Okay. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit. This is something that Emma's going to be talking about with me, so I can go blow my nose and get rid of some of my hay fever. But one of the things that we've had a number of the builders that participate in the study, we change the study every year and increase it. You got to see the size of it. It's a mammoth study now. But one of the things that we look at is what kind of staff do you need? Based on the volume, how many people do I need in each one of my operations? And what we're looking at is staff positions. We look at the back office, we look at the field, we look at their salespeople, and say, okay, how many people do I need to put in this operation or this piece of my company based on the size that I have? So, Emma, you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, and this series of charts that we have developed for this series in response to one of the participants from last year, and I know he's in the call, so I hope that we struggled with it a little bit at the end of last year and didn't quite came through with it, and I think this really is showing the question that he had and what he wanted to know. What this is telling us is that the builders that are on the bottom on the x-axis, it's showing the size of the revenue size of the builder. So The first one is $9 million of volume. The last one is 697 or 700,000 million. And it's showing how all these different builders on these sizes, how many employees they have doing the accounts payable function. And you can see that the 700 million builder is doing that accounts payable function with four accounts payable clerks. So very, very extremely efficient, and that he can do that because he has the processes and the technology in place to be able to process his payables that easy. Building 2,000 homes a year. I'm showing another one of these ones relating to purchasing agents. The same thing. How many purchasing agents the builders in these different sizes have on staff. We have done these charts for about 20 of the 39 positions that are reported in the study. The ones that are not included are the CEO, CFO, the ones that is obvious that the company only has one person in that position, the VPs of operations, VPs sales and marketing. Those we did not do the charting, but we are including this series of charts now in the final study, and to help with the kind of guidance that you might need as you grow, okay, now we're going to go to this new volume. How many employees should I have? Should I look into having to add for each one of these activities that we have to perform in the company? Then let me take you through some of the operational systems, some of the operational results that we get also, because we ask a lot of questions, and we're looking at, or I look at them not just individual by what happened this year, but I look at it on the trend. What is the trend that is happening on the different operational measurements that we are collecting? The first group that I have is how many builders, what percentage of the builders are using these things? The trade and vendor agreements, scopes of work, purchase orders, variance purchase orders, star packages, master schedules, safety programs, and quality checklists. Now, the interesting thing is that 2019 is showing a decreased percentage of builders using these operational systems. Now, when I look at my trends, and I go back in the trends, I see these same trends in the periods of growth prior to 2006, where all of a sudden, it seems like the growth gets out of control and we get so busy that we begin to abandon the discipline that we had when we imposed or when we set up the systems in which we were going to follow during the operation. So the same trend here. This is a little bit disturbing. We are going to get into a period of growth now, and I think it's really important to watch what we're doing and make sure that we hold true and we maintain the discipline, because eventually you are going to start losing profitability because you get lax and undisciplined about doing things.
Yeah, just a comment here. I'm looking at gonna have an article come out on the Roaring Twenties. This is gonna be a fantastic decade for the housing industry. If you don't have your systems and procedures and so forth in control, and you're not disciplined enough to operate with them, you're gonna lose out on the profitability of the opportunity that's in front of you for this decade.
So on the cycle time, we saw some improvement. Going down in here is good. In the sub-cycle, we improved by 4 days. Sub-cycle in the average was shorter by 4 days. The same thing. The houses 18 to 4,000 square feet, they all went down 1 day. A little bit of improvement, not too much, but at least we're holding steady. And over 4,000, we did see a reduction of 20 days. That was more significant.
Yeah, and that's all gonna deteriorate right now because of the close down because of the virus. You're gonna see all these expand in the next 9 months.
This is their. Remember, we said the profitability. There are 2 factors: the cost and the time. And the time is measured here in this window, the cycle time. Now, we want to talk about projections for 2020. What is going to happen? What are we going to see in 2020? And when we first started the year, 2020 looked like it was going to come in like a bang, and we were going to see a continued trend towards the increase in profitability. And after the virus hit us, the projections or the future is looking differently. It appears that the sales might come in as projected, the number of houses sold, but profitability is not measured by the number of houses we sell. Profitability is measured by the number of houses we close. And here is where we're going to be facing the challenge for the rest of the year. My cycle time is going to be considerably extended because of the disruption that we've had in so many pieces of that cycle time, not only in the construction piece, but also in the sub-cycle. It's taken, we're hearing of companies that used to take a week to get permits. Now it's taking 2 months to get permits. What does that do to your cycle time? We're talking about decreasing the number of people that we have in the house at a particular time to comply with all the directives from the medical directions that we have. That extends your cycle time.
And shortages of materials.
We're talking about the disruptions to the supply chain. The materials are not going to be there when we need them. They're going to be delayed. We're hearing also a lot of companies that have discontinued some of their offerings that they have. That means that your selections are no longer good, and it means that you're going to have to redo selections, again, increasing your cycle times. So this particular piece is going to be critical to be able to at least achieve a reasonable profit results for 2020. It was really important for me, and I really want to thank everybody that participated in the study to get a good sample for 2019, because that's going to set for us the guideline to be able to measure how much this year is costing. the builders. Then in the sales and marketing, the kind of things that we've seen changing, the conversion rates are holding the same from 2018 to 2019. The compensation, the way of compensating sales agents seems to be going strongly towards full commission and away from salary plus commission. That seems to be the trend. Last year we had that trending up, and this year it's trending up again. Cancellations in 2019 went up just 1%, mostly caused by the financing piece of it. Concessions hold steady during 2019. This one is really good. The number of plans that were offered went down by 10. So now the average number of plans that we have is 26 plans instead of 36 plans. The other good measurement that came very favorable, as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that less builders are allowing structural changes or changes for options and upgrades after start of construction. And that's good because that doesn't disrupt the construction process, makes it more efficient and improves your cycle time. Percent of dollars that we spend in electronic media is at 38%. Customer service, we have 82% of the builders participating in the study that uses or provide for the homeowners a manual. The formal meetings that they have with their buyers, color selection and orientations, it holds steady from last year at 86 and 89%. The other meetings, it went down anywhere from 4% to 9%. The other meetings is that I have listed in the study: a pre-construction meeting, a pre-drywall meeting, and after-close meeting. And again, those are reflective the same trend that we see as abandoning some of the processes and procedures that we talked at the beginning is carrying through to the formal meetings. Willingness to refer is at 87%. I think that for our group of builders, I'd like to see that number go up at 93%. So you builders have work to do in that particular area. Orientation, the trend is for the builders to use the superintendents to do their orientation, 8% up in the number of builders using super, away from the warranty department, down 4%, only 18% of the builders are doing warranty.
And that's again, abandoning processes and procedures. So what we saw throughout the operational study for 2019 is a reduction in the operation and the discipline that we had within our companies as we've been moving forward. And you got to watch that. You got to get that discipline back into the operation.
Yeah, on the technology, what I saw, pretty much everything holding steady. It seems like the main initiatives that the builders have for 2020 is to try to get to a paperless approval process, to get to payment releases through ACH, to work in the design area, the CAT element, using the technology in the design process, to get to the purchase order system and get that automated. And the last piece that seems to be of interest for 2020 is the lead tracking in the sales and marketing arena. Concerns that we found, litigation is increasing. The mall litigation went from 1% to 4%, and particularly concerning is the product liability that went from 7% to 11%. When we started tracking this number about 4 or 5 years ago, we had 0, and it's been creeping up every year. In trying to protect or what process the builders are using more or increasing more to protect themselves against litigation seems to be the increase in the use of third-party inspectors. In 2019, it went from 32% to 50%.
Okay, as we finish, if you've listened to the seminar and you've had issues with some of the processes and the procedures and that we've talked about, and you're lacking on some of the control systems that we've talked about, or your systems aren't integrated, please do talk to ECI, Mark. That's a great system. We've been involved in the systems, like I said, forever, and they've been a good supporter and a good member of Builder Partnerships. So I'll give them a little bit of a plug here at the end. They will help you really get everything put together in a nice, logical fashion for your back office operation. Okay, well, questions and questions. We covered a lot of material in a very short period of time.
So we have one question that's come through from Eric. Can you please break down your definition of what you include and exclude from cost of sales versus sales and marketing and operating expenses?
Okay, in the cost of, one of the things that is very, very important is to make sure that you keep all your classifications for your costs and your expenses very, very clean, so that you can use those numbers to guide you to actions to improve those things. So you have to keep things very, very clean. So for cost of sales, there are two elements that go there: the cost of the land and the direct construction cost. In the direct construction cost, the only thing that goes in there are the stick and bricks and the labor to put them up. The permit fees will be included also in there, because that's part of building that particular house. It attaches to the house. Nothing that is not part of that house should be included in that category. We need to be able to compare cleanly from one house to the next house what it is that it cost us to build it at different times, what it cost us to build it in different communities. And if we begin to incorporate in there any type of sales and marketing or financing or allocations of superintendents and toilet, temporary
dumpsters,
toilets, and
all that stuff.
You convolute that number so much that you cannot really see what it is that house is costing you to build.
The other side of the coin is if I allocate my superintendent, and I allocate my dumpsters, and I allocate my temporary toilets, I can't control them. Those are all indirect construction costs, and they should be a budget for your production manager, or for you, if you're the production manager. And you analyze, okay, how well am I using my superintendents? How well am I using my dumpsters? How well am I using my temporary toilets? What am I doing with it? And I need to have that not buried in the direct construction costs. If it's buried in the direct construction costs, I absolutely cannot control it.
Yeah, so in your indirect construction cost, all the expenses that relate to managing the building of the houses, the superintendents, the temporary toilets, the
street sweeping,
the street sweeping, the temporary electric, all those things are part of that. How much is costing me to run my production operation, okay?
If you
Then-
want a full breakdown of the classification, contact NAHB, get Emma's book. We've got all the breakdowns and exactly where everything goes, in which classifications in the book, so.
Or you can send me an email, I can send you the chart of accounts that outlines where everything goes. But then in the sales and marketing category, everything that has to do with selling, getting the advertising out, getting models, maintained, clean, everything that has to do with the selling aspect, the marketing and selling of the homes, you want that in one category together so that you can then look at it and be able to evaluate how much you're spending on it and whether it makes sense.
That's your models, your advertising, your collateral material, your model complex,
All your commissions,
your commissions in-house
in-house and
and
co-op.
realtor co-op commissions, everything goes in that classification.
Your design center, the selection, the process of making the selections for the house is part of the selling process.
And our budget is 6% for that.
And then in the financing, you will include all the financing of the house, all the closing costs that are involved in the actual transferring of the title to the owners, because that's all part of the financial operation, the financial function that is performed in the selling, when you sell the house, and how much it costs you to finance it. And because when you track those costs or those expenses together, then begin to tell you also if you are not being efficient, you're not efficient in managing your spec inventory, you're not being very efficient in the way in which in your cycle times, it's taking you way too long to build those houses, so your interest expenses are going totally out of control. So you have to keep those things within the functional areas that they are, because they tell you part of the story of what's going on with your company. And then the G&A, it's, the general office, the telephone, the general insurance that you have, the rest of your payroll, your accounting department, and so on and so forth. So you keep it really clean, and you're able to really do the best analysis possible of how your company is operating and how your different functional areas of selling, of building, of financing, and of just doing the general management of the company, how each one of those functional areas is working out for you. And where do you need, and if something is not working right, where do you need to go to fix it? Does that make sense?
Thank you. It looks like we don't have any other questions, but you're free to ask questions or raise your hand. Chuck, if you'll advance the slide while we wait for oh, wait, we got one more question here. Oh, Eric says thank you. It makes sense. All right. And if you'll go one more, we're here for you as an organization to help you guys with your companies. We offer, this is a list of our services. We offer rebates through our builder partnerships program. It's if you're looking to increase profitability and savings, go ahead and contact one of our reps at Builder Partnerships to do that. We offer online training. At this point, we have canceled our fall live sessions due to COVID, and we've moved onto an online platform. We'll have our next session beginning August 4th, and we'll be doing production management type class, a negotiation class, and then a home building 101 class. One's geared for entry level or somebody who's just basic home building and how that works. Everybody gets together, and the other one is going to be management focused. We are also offering consulting services for you to help you improve your processes and your profitability, and we can do that one-on-one with you. And we are offering special packages with remote and on-site consulting if that is possible for on-site. We have our data transfer, which we partner with Mark Systems and Cova to help you with your rebates. We have a great survey program that helps you determine how you're doing in relationship with your customers, your trades, as well as your employees. And it's a great program. We're actually going to be doing our next webinar Wednesday on July 8th called Builder of Choice. And we're going to be talking about some of the feedback that's valuable to help you improve your processes and improve your relationships with your employees, your trades, and your customers so that you stay ahead of the game, especially as we enter this new decade. And then we have our builder support groups, which are, oh, we have another question that.
Hey, Emma Jane.
Yes.
And don't forget, if they want Emma's study, she's
yep.
going to
I
be
think that's
she's
the
going
next
to be
one.
heading to the
Go ahead and
printer
go to-
here next week, so they need to put an order in for the study.
Go to the next slide. It's on the next slide. Do you see, we have a question here from Rob. Do you see any demographic trends that a builder should be paying attention to?
Yes, you're going to be selling to the empty nester, baby boomer, and the millennial with children. They're going to be moving to the suburbs very quickly, and those are the big demographics for housing at this point. It's going to be smaller product. Probably for the baby boomer, it's going to be kind of maintenance free, but I'm not going to go to a Del Webb type of community. I don't want to be locked up into a retirement community, especially with the virus that's going around. So it's going to be more of a mixed community where I have a section and a product that is designed for the empty nester. But those are the two big ones, the mid-market, the big houses, they're going to have a hard time. And right now we're seeing that $700,000, $800,000 product line being very hard to get rid of right now. Does that help?
Thank you, Chuck. And then what as Chuck was mentioning, I think we're done here unless there's any more questions, but I will give you some information. We have our study that, as Chuck was saying, is available next week. Emma will be sending out some books. So if you are interested in getting the book with all of this information, please contact us. You can contact Emma through her email at eShinn, S-H-I-N-N. So it's E-S-H-I-N-N at builderpartnerships.com. There's her slide to order the book. And you can also visit our website at builderpartnerships.com to go ahead and order that book as well. And I think with that, we'll go ahead and close the program for today. And if you have any questions or need anything, please feel free to contact us. Thank you all for coming today. We appreciate having you, and we look forward to seeing you again on July 8th for our next webinar Wednesday. Have a great week.